It was a night that forever changed the trajectory of a family once held together by faith, unity, and carefully curated spirituality. In an emotional climax broadcast on Sister Wives, Janelle Brown, once one of the pillars of the plural family, took a microphone that wasn't hers and spoke truths that cracked the carefully constructed narrative of her husband, Cody Brown. A fractured foundation for nearly 3 decades, Janelle and Cody maintained what appeared to many as a harmonious spiritual marriage under the shared banner of plural marriage. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. In one of the most gut-wrenching episodes of Sister Wives, the cracks became canyons. In a December 2021 confrontation broadcast later in season 18, things came to a head. Cody confronted Janelle in her downtown Flagstaff apartment, admonishing her for not supporting his COVID-19 rules. He insisted a united front was essential. "All you have to do is support what I'm doing," he said, while accusing her of gaslighting and lacking loyalty. Janelle, caught between her husband's ultimatum and the well-being of her children, refused to choose. "I'm supposed to choose between you and our children," she shot back. At that moment, Janelle broke. She screamed, "Shut your fucking mouth and let me talk for a minute." Already strained emotional bonds shattered further when Cody slammed the door, prompting Janelle to turn to the camera crew and demand, "Shut it off," before the screen went black. Business Insider. It wasn't just words, it was the finality behind them. Janelle later reflected that she felt a definitive severance. "It feels like Cody and I are no longer going to be a couple." It really does. That dramatic. There's a finality to it, and from that day on, the narrative of unity fractured into shards of truth, grief, and reality. The split delivered not just emotional but practical consequences. Janelle tearfully admitted, "Financially, I have nothing." She had invested everything, her stability, savings, and future, into the Coyote Pass property, trusting the family structure to nurture her. Now, with her life's assets tied up in joint property and little in her own name, she felt stuck and bewildered. Business Insider. The narrative shattered. But Janelle was just getting started. In the months following the fight, Janelle continued dismantling the idealistic narrative of their relationship. On Sister Wives One-on-One, she spoke candidly of a cycle reminiscent of narcissistic abuse. Love bomb, then wane, then destroy, then love bomb again. Though careful to clarify she wasn't a mental health professional, she left little doubt where she believed the behavior stemmed from. Cody's carefully maintained image of spiritual harmony was crumbling, and Janelle, refusing to stay quiet, lit the fuse. Distrust, and property battles. Then came the Coyote Pass war. As the family's unified vision for building a homestead fell apart, with Christine, Mary, and Janelle all leaving, each began fighting for equity in the sprawling plot. Cody admitted he'd thought of screwing Janelle over in the negotiations, yet tempered his actions, saying Robin wouldn't let me. Janelle, meantime, refused to trust his intentions and began contemplating legal action to protect her share. A new narrative emerges. This explosive night became more than television drama. It was a revelation that the peaceful plurality Cody upheld was in reality built on uneven foundations of control, manipulation, and unilateral authority. For years, Cody portrayed himself as the family patriarch, carrying everyone on his shoulders. Now, in Janelle's explosive confrontation, the myth unraveled. He was exposed as someone who leveraged spiritual authority to silence dissent and pressure compliance. Janelle flipped the script. What viewers saw and what they didn't, fans recognized the seismic shift. One commenter erupted in approval when Janelle commanded, "Shut it off." They described the moment as powerful, chilling, and dignified. Another noted her sharp digs at Robin and Cody, especially when she highlighted Robin's influence. "Janelle knows this will drive him and Robin crazy." A gotcha moment from Janelle. This wasn't performative bravado. It was a woman reclaiming her voice against a narrative that had long silenced it. The aftermath: silence, splintering, and self-determination. Post-fight, Janelle took control. She kicked Cody out, sent him packing, and moved on. She became executor of her son Garrison's estate and embarked on building a new life for her family in North Carolina. Cody, left behind in the ashes of dynastic dissolution, seemed to reflect on what was lost. But for Janelle, the night wasn't about punishment, it was about liberation. She pulled off her cape of loyalty and exposed the man beneath, not as a divine carrier of family unity, but as a flawed patriarch failing the very family he claimed to protect. This night, with its volume turned all the way up, gave millions of viewers a raw, unfiltered look into the collapse of a once public ideal. The personal became political, vulnerability transmuted into power, and a singular truth for Janelle emerged. She would not be gaslit or bound by spiritual tradition when it meant sacrificing herself or her children today. Janelle stands apart in property debates, in emotional reckoning, and in narrative control. Cody's vision of a unified spiritual family is fragmented, shifting into the background. As she moves forward, Janelle carries a fierceness born of confrontation. She has been broke, truths have been spoken, and narratives dismantled. Now she builds not just on Coyote Pass but on her own terms. The cultural impact of Janelle's breakaway wasn't just confined to the Brown family's world. Fans, particularly women, saw themselves in Janelle, the quiet, stable, hard-working woman who, after years of compromise, finally drew a boundary. Social media erupted in solidarity. Hashtags like Team Janelle, Free Janelle, and Shut It Off trended in the days following the airing of the explosive episode. "She is every woman who finally had enough," one user wrote on X when Janelle told Cody to shut his King mouth. "I stood up and clapped." Viewers unpacked every line of the fight. "The real story here isn't about polygamy, it's about power and manipulation," wrote a longtime Sister Wives subreddit member. Janelle saw the game and stopped playing it. The message resonated far beyond reality television. Janelle's resistance became a symbol for reclaiming autonomy after decades of emotional labor and spiritual guilt. What made Janelle's stand so compelling was its moral clarity. Throughout the pandemic, Cody demanded strict isolation protocols that alienated the children he shared with his wives. Janelle's sons, particularly Garrison and Gabriel, were left devastated by Cody's cold detachment. In defending them, Janelle found her voice. "I'm not going to apologize for being close to my kids," she said in a private confessional. "I will never feel guilty for that." Cody, meanwhile, seemed more obsessed with perceived disrespect than reconnect ion. "They need to apologize to me," he insisted, unwilling to take any responsibility for the estrangement. Janelle's decision wasn't just a rejection of a failing marriage, it was a protective act of motherhood. She chose love and presence over compliance. That defiance became a quiet revolution in a family built on obedience. Cody's crumbling credibility, the explosion didn't just damage his marriage to Janelle, it eviscerated Cody's public credibility. As more of his wives left, Christine in 2021, Janelle in 2022, and Mary shortly after, the Emperor was left standing with only one wife, Robin. Once heralded as the family's emotional heart, Robin now became a lightning rod for resentment. Christine had long accused Cody of playing favorites. Now Janelle echoed the same charge. "There's a clear preference," she said flatly. "He chose Robin's family during COVID. The rest of us were just in the way." Cody's justifications about loyalty, respect, and submission rang increasingly hollow. What was once framed as God's design looked more like ego preservation. Since leaving Cody, Janelle has embarked on a journey of reinvention. She remained in Flagstaff briefly, but the emotional pull of family and a fresh start led her to spend more time with Christine and their kids. She celebrated her daughter Savannah's graduation with a blended family event that Cody didn't attend. Her sons, still grieving the tragic loss of Garrison in 2024, leaned on her as their emotional anchor. And as executor of Garrison's estate, Janelle proved she wasn't just a supportive wife or background figure. She was the family's quiet matriarch. Her health and wellness business, previously a side hustle, flourished post-split. With renewed confidence, Janelle leaned into entrepreneurship and community. "I'm finally making choices for me," she said during a live stream in early 2025. "I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living." Robin's isolation, Mary's departure, and the end of the family dream with Janelle gone, the family dream Cody clung to imploded. Mary officially separated from him, citing years of emotional neglect. Christine, long gone and now thriving in Utah, frequently collaborates with Janelle on family trips and shared events with their adult children. Robin, once positioned as the moral compass of the family, She's now left in a spiritual monogamy she never signed up for. I didn't want this, Robin tearfully said in a 2025 reunion episode. I wanted sister wives, I wanted unity. But unity cannot be demanded. It must be nurtured. And in the end, Cody's rigid rulebook destroyed the very relationships it claimed to protect. For years, Sister Wives framed its central question around whether